The following program is rated GE. It is suitable for general family viewing.
Another beautiful Thursday on Fahamu Kiongozi, where we get to hear stories from different leaders across the nation. Jina langu ni Elizabeth Matuko, and any other leader you'd like me to speak to, it's 22034. And of course, remember that on our social media handles, any other leader you want, I'll definitely look for them. Na hii leo tutakuwa tukizungumza naye rais, ukipenda kwa lugha ya Kizungu, ni Madam President wa chama cha mawakili humu nchini LSK, nafahamika kama Faith. Takuwa akiniambia story na historia yake, alizaliwa wapi, how was life, and by the way, kwamba anaserve wakati huu ambapo kuna jinsi na mambo mengine. Make sure that you walk with us for the next 30 minutes. Hi, Madam President.
Hello, how are you?
Umenitupa sana. How have you been?
Niko salama.
How is your tenure? How has it started?
I would say that my tenure has been interesting. We got in and I think we were waiting to settle down a bit before we start implementing some of the promises that I had made to the members. At the annual conference, I launched the 100 days in office.
Yes.
About the PSP agenda I had sold to the membership that got me into office, and also collating together ideas that the different council members had come with in terms of how do we want to improve practice, how do we want to ensure we fight to ensure the rule of law is obeyed, and also to improve our welfare. And so we got in, and I think because of the changes that are happening in our society, we had to get in running, literally. And so it's been an interesting tenure since we just started. We tried to, get to settle down, meet the different institutions and organizations that we'll be working closely with. I think this is a tenure that for the first time we'll be meeting probably 2 attorney generals within one tenure, because as the president, you only get to meet 1 attorney general, because by the time you leave, the attorney general is still sitting and probably still meets the next president, because their tenure runs for the entire duration of the government of the day. And so this is an interesting time for the Law Society of Kenya and even the nation as a whole.
Being the second president of LSK, how do you feel after such a long time?
I'm humbled because as the legal profession, we've not had another female president except Rachel Omamo. In fact, I recently met her and I was very elated, and she was also quite happy, and she was telling me, I've been looking for you to have lunch because it's only been the 2 of us, and it's amazing that you would get to see another female president coming into office. And of course it was a rigorous campaign period, and we were 3 strong female candidates on the ballot, as well as 2 strong men as well. But I'm humbled that members of the bar chose me and found me befitting.
You've been so much involved in the Gen Z, especially offering them support when they are arrested during the protests. Were you not afraid at some point?
When we started doing it, we're doing it with how can we contribute and help. In terms of, I recognize that a lot of the Gen Zs would not be able to know their rights and how to fight for their rights and articulate their concerns when arrested. Because my expectation when they said they wanted to go for the mandamanos was that police would provide escorts to guide them through the protest. Because we have issued notices before, and different civil society organizations have done it. And this was not a political rally that I saw the Gen Zs coming out for. So it was not about the ruling party and the next minority party coming out and fighting on the streets or different factions. These were Gen Zs saying they have issues with regards to governance, with regards to corruption in the end, particularly the finance bill 2024. And so what the expectation I had was police to guide them. So when they had since arrested people who were just carrying bottles of water and walking in the morning I was from actually a funeral of one of the judicial officers. There was a service held of one of the judicial officers, Monica, who had been injured and killed at Makadara Law Courts. So I got distress calls from some of my members at Central Police Station, and when we got there, only to be tear gassed. And even one of our council members was injured. And, I was like, we have come to offer legal services. I've never seen police officers attacking advocates and more or less attacking them when they have come peacefully to help people get out of police stations, because people have the right to an advocate. You have the right to be given bail. You see, they have not killed anyone. They have not destroyed property. They were just peaceful. On the 18th of June when this started, they were just engaging peacefully. And you could see a majority were very, very young people. And so when we came and that happened, for me, it sparked more of anger. And I said, if you are going to do this to advocates, how much more are you going to do to the innocent Gen Z? So I said, we are coming back. And so we came back in the evening and we braved the night at the police station just to ensure everyone. So in Nairobi, most police stations that people had been are arrested, we were there till very late in the night to ensure they had been released. And a majority of young lawyers, when I had been tear gassed at Central Police Station, they came out and they said, if their president is being tear gassed, then we are also joining in, because we've never heard of something like that.
Threats were flying left, right, center to everyone, and I was wondering, did you at some point get protected?
I remember on 25th, in fact, that was where I was quite afraid, because we received threats and we'd been told that, they're coming for you, and particularly after my PA had been picked up as well. And that particular time, I said, something happens to everyone. So if government wants to get you, whether you're hiding in your house,
they will get you.
They will get you. Ideally, there's no place you can really hide from the government. And so actually, when we were at Supreme Court on the 25th, my greater fear was, how do I get these advocates out of here safely? That was my greater concern at that particular time, because we saw as the Gen Zs were progressing, police were also now using more of live bullets. And Supreme Court had been breached, so it wasn't safe anymore for us to so how was to get people out and get people out safely? I remember that time my car was also vandalized, and later on they started burning cars at Supreme Court. So we managed to escape and leave Supreme Court grounds, go through KICIC, and we later on walked. And I remember what was most chilling is when we noticed armed people, some 2 armed guys following us. And, for me, it was a bit of a surreal moment, because you're there, but you're not really there, because that's not even my concern at that particular moment, because I was thinking, if even someone decides to open fire, I have so many advocates with me. And, the fear, once you're thinking, how do I keep how do you keep everyone safe? And I think also what really helped at that particular time, a large number of the people who recognized me and were shouting my name and came to hug and talk sort of confused the moment.
So you were not so sure of where you are heading and whether you'd be safe?
Yes, but we managed to get out safely, because when people were shouting and coming to say hi, and now there's a huge crowd of people who identify with you and know you, and so it's harder for someone to come and pick you up or attack you. So yes, the fear is there, and we've done debriefings as well and tried to see how to beef up security, because not only attacks on my person but also my council as well, because they have had scare attacks as well. Even one of our officers also experienced, the one was manning the toll-free line, people tried to break into her house at night. And so we started having different mechanisms of how to move the toll-free line, because I don't know what's the thinking around you'd get information or... So we just started now deploying different ways on how to handle, and just more security briefings and how can we be careful, and if something happens to you, you have to ensure there's proper succession.
Sure to watching your back.
Yes.
It's really sad and tough for a woman. I understand also you are a family. How do you
Yes.
strike that balance with everything in place and tough moments like the ones we had, and as well now today expected to lead a generation of profession?
Well, people say work-life balance, but I never say there's really a balance. There are times I just have to shelve matters LSK and focus on family. There are times you have to focus more on LSK because that situation needs that kind of drive and leadership.
What time do you wake up to balance this? How does your day look like?
Well, before all the security concerns, I used to have gym in my balance, like 5:30, but now gym is totally not there. So I would say I wake up early and spend more of that time with my spouse, and then my child, if I'm dropping him to school for the days that it's possible for me, or I'm either having a meeting and briefings on what's happening in the situation and what can we do differently and better. Then of course office. He struggles more. I think my partners are trying to really hold fort for me because this has suffered more than anything. If I don't have evening meetings, I try the moment I get into the house to just set the phone aside. Okay, of course, the Mandamano period, it was not possible because you'd receive calls 24 hours, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., you're always on speed dial. I think my number became a public phone, like our toll-free line at some point.
Now that you've spoken of you being called to morning, night, throughout the night, and I was wondering, how about your spouse? There are people who cannot tolerate that, and you know that.
We had this discussion because I was vice president, and it wasn't as heavy, or we didn't have a situation like this that we've had in our country, but he sort of understood the pressures of the travel, the early morning meetings, late night meetings. So he sort of understood that. And when we were vying for president, I told him, it would mean now I'm the head. Yeah, I'm the head. It's not a situation where I'm the second, that when the head is not available, I'm acting on his behalf. So this would mean I am the one at the forefront. So we had that deliberate discussion, and he understood. And of course, there are times when it's a strain, particularly, but he's sort of understood and he sees my passion. And I think I've been in civil society. I was in FIDA Kenya before I joined Law Society. So he sort of understands the passion for service in my heart. And particularly even at this time for the Gen Zs, he was also passionate about it because he understood what it means. So he would be the one we just keep checking on each other that, are you okay? Just tell me if anything, that if you feel there's something you need help, just let me know. So we'd keep checking on each other, and he would, I would tell him I'm going to the police station.
That must be a good person. Congratulations to him. Keep being good. Everyone knows of you as the president, but we don't know where you were born, how life was like, and why you decided to do law, not anything else.
Well, I was born actually in Mombasa. At the conference, one of our chief guests was professor he's now a minister of justice in constitutional affairs in Tanzania, and he was telling me if actually the map had been accordance to before the British colonization, then I would have been a Ugandan. But I was telling him actually not really, because I was born in Mombasa, not in Kisumu. So my home is in Bondo area, Usenge, that's my village, Siaya. My governor is Orengo, but I was actually born in Mombasa.
In a family of how many people?
We were 5, a family of 5. I had close-knit. My father was a professor of geology and geography, my late father. My mother was an accountant, through and through, served at Kenya Revenue Authority to her last days until she retired. So we were raised, how would I say, I was in Mombasa for I think 2 or 3 years before we moved to Nairobi. And I studied through and through in Nairobi. I went to Hospital Hill. I went to Our Lady of Mercy Secondary before I joined Catholic University of Eastern Africa for my LLB. Did my master's out of the country, came back.
This or you dream all through?
Well, I would say that I decided to do law. I used to love this sitcom called The Practice. And what used to inspire me is how they would go and articulate, and the power that they sort of feel they have a presence in the courtrooms, and how they would argue and save their clients. I love that essence of power, competitiveness, yes, how they're able to articulate themselves strongly. And, they capture the aura of the room. And that essence of being a good lawyer and being able to save people, make a difference. And the irony, that was criminal law, which I don't practice.
Just some of the memories you have from your father.
Well, my father was someone amazing, because he's those kind of people who would go and collect books and you share and compete. Would compete to read autobiographies together, and we listened to music together. He would let me do, there's a time in teenagehood, I know for Gen Zs now they'd say we are old, but you would sit and write a songbook. I had a songbook, and he'd allow me to sit, stop the recorder, write down, and he was that kind of dad. And I would buy posters of musicians, stick on my room, I put it up in the morning. When I come from school, they're all down. It was a routine that we kept doing until one day I removed them myself. Then he called me for a meeting, and he asked me, "My daughter, are you fine? Are you okay?" I'm like, "Dad, I'm okay." Until today, you removed all the posters on your own. I was sure you're okay. And I'm like, "No, I've just outgrown them and I'm tired of them." And something I used to love about him is that deliberate time he used to take out for us. So you'd identify passions that you have and what shared passions, then he would try and inculcate. Because reading for me was a passion, and I loved history as well. So he would inculcate and ensure that he spends time with you reading. And then those short moments, like he would take you guys to buy chips or something, then you walk back home together holding hands, you and your siblings. So there was a bonding. There was a way that we loved spending time with him, because he was very strict on education. He came from a large family. His mom was the first wife. He was the last born of 14. And all his brothers had not gone to school. He was the only one who opted to go to school.
His passion for education.
Yes, so he said, his children, all of you must go to school. And he used to educate his brother's children as well. I don't know, these larger families.
You have to take the burden.
Yes, you take the burden. So at many times we lived with a lot of my cousins in our house. They go through when people are joining university, joining school at one place or another. I think there was a time we lived even with my dad's brother's wife and all his kids at our house when my dad's brother died. Because my dad was that kind of person, helping people, and then for him education was key. Later on, after his funeral, I've met several people who said, "Your dad helped us get an admission. Your dad, he's the reason I'm here." He was that kind of person. He believed education is key. So if he found that you're interested in something, he would really support. I remember when I didn't get through University of Nairobi and I was very disappointed. He sat me down and he told me, Faith, failure doesn't mean that's the end. From our failures, we learn, we move up, we grow up. So he told me that, one door closes, you never know. So I actually plan to go to University of Nairobi and do business, commerce, and do accounts, because my mom was now excited. She's recruited someone. But as life would have it, Catholic University opened up.
And you went for law.
And I went for law.
Which was your first job, and how much did you earn?
I would say my first job was campus.
Yes.
I got some campus job. We did some consultancy of sort. I think we were paid 25,000. And then I had one of our family friends who was a doctor. He told me, your first salary you give to your parents. It was the most painful. The most painful
you
exercise. Yes, because they were
to bless you.
Yes, I said he told me, Faith, the first salary you must give to your parents. Mine was for blessing, and also just small awards that I got along the way. Then my next job, I worked at Cooperative Bank as a graduate trainee. But that one was very short-lived because the moment it was 8 months, I got Kenya School of Law, I quit because I was like, my passion is very clear. I wanted to do law. And
you've said that you're married. I'd like to hear how you met Mr. Right.
My husband. My husband is actually a friend of ours who connected us. We had a very good friend. He's called Oma. And so Oma used to be like, Faith, you're such a nice girl. I even thought when you went to the UK, you'd end up marrying a white person. But you came back without marrying a white person. So you can't just be chilling here but my dad is not worried. Why are you worried? And he was like, no, I'm not saying I'm worried, but as friends, we hope to see our friends connected. So he actually organized like a dinner with his wife. They were very
intentional.
They were very intentional, but they were very excited to pair us together. They're like, oh, there's this guy, he's in the choir, he's
in the choir.
Yeah.
SD?
No, Catholic. I'm Catholic. So he was also in the choir as well, and he insisted they have to introduce us. So we had a dinner and he introduced me to Mr. John Lawrence Odhiambo. At that time, my husband, he was dressed like these young, cool people, and that wasn't my thing. So I was like,
really?
No. Yeah.
What were you looking for?
I was looking for someone dressed more smart, casual. Someone I could take to my dad and not be afraid. Because my dad was someone who would ask questions. And he'll talk to you. I knew the character. My father, unless you're very quick-witted, you would not know he's teasing you or making fun of you. So you have to be very sharp. So I was like, I was comparing, of course, with my father. I'm like, the kind of person my dad is, will they get along? I know my mom is tough for everyone. So irrespective, no one will meet her standard. Yes. So the person who I was more worried for is, So the first meeting, it was okay, but I was not satisfied. Then he looked for me some days later. And then, unfortunately, I'd saved his name wrongly from his name. So when he calls and he picks...
That means you were not interested.
At that time. So he was like, who is that? I'm like, but I thought that was your name. So first, that's an embarrassing moment. But from then, he asked me out for dates. He was very interesting. We would chill and we would talk and talk and talk. So, of course, now you
started singing.
Yeah, because now, of course, now even he dresses differently. He's not the same way all the time. And, of course, with his work clothes now, he looks very serious. And so we started spending time together. And I found him more of an extrovert. I'm an introverted kind of person, so he's an extrovert. Extroverts can make you feel like the world revolves around you, and so he would make you feel like you're the only person in the room.
And that's all.
That's all.
The rest is history.
The rest and something that is special.
Marriage?
From 2019 to date. Yes, we'll be celebrating our anniversary on 24th.
At least that the person who is the child there is just acting. I tend to think so.
He's just acting, yeah, he's acting.
If you were to change something, one thing today, what would that be?
Okay, one thing I would change is that I'd wish I would have had opportunities to maybe record discussions with my father. I think I miss him the most in my life. Like, I'm not able to share what I'm going through. He's that kind of person who would talk about, I'm teaching in class, what is happening, or students are trying to create excuses, they don't sit for exams, we are going for elections, this is happening, and you'd advise me what to do. I really thank God every day for my mom, because now I'm like, she's now my mom and dad, but I also still miss my dad.
One thing you said your mom is so sweet. One thing you remember she did, and you felt like, Mom, you've crossed the line.
Like, cross the line?
Yes, sometimes it happens in parenthood.
My mom she was the disciplinarian, so crossing the line is all that. She was a very deliberate disciplinarian. I would say I didn't know how. You see, when you say that, even how do you ask me how I balance work life? I don't know how my mom balanced. She was a full-time worker. She was going to class in the evening, and then she would be deliberate. She would check our bags, our everything. She knew what was happening in my big brother's life, my life,
Everyone.
my sister,
How
my
you
small,
don't know?
all of us. You know, there was no secret. You even think you've hidden the any love letter you have written. My mother would
I know
know.
someone who has gone through that, and it's my producer, Jojo. Her mother is just like your mother. Thank you so much. Your last word, especially to women and young people who would like to be like you in future.
I would say that do not choose someone's particular direction to look at someone's life and say that's the only way I can live my life to get to a particular destination. I'd say that you're an individual, unique human being with different emotions, different contexts in different times. If you have a dream and you believe in it, focus on it, try and follow it to the very end. Sometimes to score a goal, you don't get to that direct penalty kick. You get to struggle to pass it different places and angles before you're able to make that final shot. And so I say that as a woman, don't listen to the naysayers. Sometimes we need more women in the room for us to even make that perfect impact. And so as long as you're able to get yourself into that space, keep trying. Failures are the ones that help us get to where we have come today. And also look at to stand on the shoulders of other great women who have come before us. Don't feel like you need to struggle on your own, that you need to say you are a self-made woman. I don't say I'm a self-made woman. I'm made by the great women who have helped me stand where I have so many women mentors, so many male mentors as well, a supportive spouse and supportive family. So I'm never really self-made, and I really also rely on God to help me in a lot of my decisions. So getting there is quite important, and having those support structures, because you can really easily rush to the top, but people change, and today you're popular, tomorrow you're not. You need those support systems to keep you going, to make it to the final end. So I'd say, as amazing women out there, the future leaders, our future presidents of not only LSK but the entire nation as well, who we hope to see women at that position. Trust in yourself, work hard, but also look around to other networks to support you.
Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to hear your story. I know you're shedding some time, so tight. Thank you again. Thank you so much for choosing to watch TV 47 Fahamu Kiongozi. That's a beautiful story from one Madam President from the LSK. Another story, another day, the same place, with me, Liz Mituku. Keep it TV 47.